Ashley, are you good?
I am good. Yes, go for it.
It's 5 o'clock. Call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Okay. Next, I'll give the president's statement. In the event the audio signal from this meeting is interrupted, a maximum of 30 minutes will be used to attempt to restore the audio. And if that time elapses, the meeting will be reconvened and timely public notice as to the date, time, and place and manner of reconvened meeting will be given in accordance with the provisions of the Open Meeting Act. Okay, next item will be number 3 to approve the April 13th board meeting minutes. Any discussion?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Denton made the motion. Mr. Cockrell made the second. Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Thank you. Next item will be number 4, will be employment. Ms. Bergwall.
Good evening. It's nice to see you all. Tonight, I'd like to bring for your approval our new Director of Maintenance, Roger Shepard. As you may be aware, our current director, Mr. Ben Keeling, is looking to retire in December, and so we have identified Roger Shepard to take his place. He comes to us from the Tulsa City County Library. He's their current maintenance director. He holds several licenses in the state, including his mechanical license and his state boilers license. He's even CLEAT certified. He's an instructor in the tech system, and he currently has an apprentice program there at the library, and he plans on starting an apprentice program here at BA, which will mix nicely with our pathway. So with your approval tonight, I'd like to employ Mr. Roger Shepard.
Any discussion?
Sounds good. Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Denton made the motion. Mr. Cockrell made the second. Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Congratulations,
Thank you.
Mr. Shepard, if you're listening. Next item, number 5. Ms. Hennis.
Good evening, Mr. Allen, Dr. Dunlop, and the members of the board. I would like to recommend David Sutton for the position of Director of BNA Connections and Extension Programs. Mr. Sutton is a BA graduate, and he has been a supervisor with Oklahoma's Department of Human Services in the Child Support Services Division. But the thing that we love the most about Mr. Sutton is his passion for youth through our community program, youth sports programs. He has experience working with homeless teens in LA. He has so many wonderful ideas of ways that we can engage more students and grow our BNA Connections program. And so that's why I would like to recommend Mr. Sutton for this position.
All right. Any discussion? Entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Denton, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Debbie. I'm sorry.
Mr. Denton made the motion. Mr. Cockrell made the second. Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. All right. Welcome, Mr. Sutton.
Thank you.
Next item, Ms. James.
Good evening, President Allen, Dr. Dunlop, and the board. I am excited to bring forward for your discussion recommendation to hire Crystal Barber as our building principal for the high school. I'm extremely excited. Crystal, as you know, has been with us for the last few years as a grade level principal at the high school. In addition, she was at BAFA for a couple of years. Background is actually as a she worked in Oklahoma City as a transformational coach, but also as a Spanish teacher. So she's We always love to brag about that. She's been a great asset to us at the high school with that skill. So I would like for you to consider to approve or disapprove our recommendation.
Okay, any discussion?
Make a motion to approve?
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Mr. Denton made the motion. Mr. Cockrell made the second. Ms. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes, congratulations, Ms. Barber. Next item, number 7, Ms. James.
All right, at this time, I would like to present for your discussion is to approve or disapprove the offer of employment for Andy Rice as our principal at the high school. Just to be clear, this is not an additional position. This is just realignment of our current positions that we have. Andy, of course, has been a math teacher and a department chair. He's been a coach with us. For the last year or two, he has been an assistant principal for us at the high school. And the exciting part for Andy is that his military background really brings an organizational skill that I believe will help at the high school. He's so strong educationally, but this piece that he's received in the military with the organization, we just feel will really be a support for Ms. Barber, and also we would appreciate your vote to approve or disapprove this recommendation.
Ms. James, can you say his name again? Because it's kind of
Andy,
audio.
I'm sorry, it's Andy Rice.
Okay. Andy Rice. Okay. The audio was kind of screeching in and out there.
Would you like me to repeat what I shared?
No,
with you,
I
Mr.
know.
Allen?
I think it just cut off on the name mostly. So,
Okay, perfect.
unless anyone else would like that repeated.
No, I'm good. I agree with you. It was just during the name, the last name.
Okay. Any
So-
discussion?
With that said, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Mr. Denton made the motion. Mr. Cockrell made the second. Ms. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Congratulations, Mr. Rice. Next item, number 8, Ms. Peterson.
Good evening, President Allen, Dr. Dunlop, and members of the board. I am so excited to bring to you tonight a recommendation for a principal at Arrowhead. As you know, with Rosewood opening, we moved Mr. Hutchings into that position. And so we would like to recommend Toby Kula. Toby has been serving this past year as the assistant principal at Timber Ridge. She served 2 years prior to that as the assistant principal at Creekwood, but she's actually been a teacher in Broken Arrow for 13 years, teaching reading recovery and title. Prior to that, she actually taught in Tahlequah for 4 years, so she's got about 17 years of experience, and she's also our elementary summer school administrator. Along with that, she's also got 3 kiddos that have all gone through Broken Arrow. And so I will tell you, in her interview, something, her heart just came through. And so she is so excited to move forward and pick up where Nate has left off and lead Arrowhead, to continue to lead Arrowhead into the future. So tonight we would like for you to discuss and approve Toby Kula as the Arrowhead principal.
Okay. Any discussion? Entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Mr. Denton made the motion. Mr. Cockrell made the second. Ms. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Congratulations, Ms. Kula. Okay,
Mr.
next
Allen?
item. Excuse me?
Mr. Allen, do you mind if I say something really quickly?
No, go
wanna
right ahead.
Yeah, sure. I want to compliment Ms. Dias's team. This took a lot of time. It was very, very difficult to do these interviews, especially with what's been going on with the pandemic. And the committee that chose these, or the committees that chose these principals just did an incredible job. And I have to point out that the principals and the director positions, I mean, most of these candidates came from internal. candidates, and that just shows what an amazing job Ms. Dias and her team has done in coaching they come up as teachers into assistant principal positions, and sometimes, they just come in as an interim. I can't even think of the name of it, but the fact that we are growing our own administrators, and even when we open it up to the public, that our internal people tend to shine. I just can't say enough about the job they're doing in coaching. Ms. Peterson, Ms. James, Ms. Dias, Ms. Hennis, you just knocked it out of the park. Amazing. Awesome.
Good stuff. Good to hear. Always nice to keep our family here at home.
Very true.
Next item is going to be the consent, but before we make a motion on the consent or to approve or disapprove, we're going to need to remove item 21 out for discussion, as it's a policy item, and we're going on a first reading of a policy, and we will discuss that for discussion only since it's a first reading, but we'll need to move it out of the consent because it is a policy item right before item 53. Anybody have any questions or anything about that? Does that make sense?
Oh, that makes sense. So make a motion to approve the consent agenda items with the exception of what Mr. Allen had taken out.
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Denton made the motion. Mr. Cockrell seconded to approve agenda items 10 through 52, removing number 21.
Actually, just moving for discussion.
Moving for discussion.
Yes, not removing it. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Ms. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Okay. Ms. Kearns, you're going to be up here for item 21, please, to discuss for information only.
Thank you very much for moving that, and good evening to everyone. This is an information only item. It is 5 policies, 4 existing policies with minor changes and 1 new policy. This tonight is brought to you for information only to give you time to evaluate the policies and speak to the authors should you have any questions before it comes to you for an action item vote in the next meeting. The new policy that is brought to you does deal with serving subpoenas to sites. This has become quite a problem in Broken Arrow. We are served hundreds of subpoenas to our employees, and it interrupts instructional time. Under the advice of RFR, they suggest that we do not receive those, that those should be served in homes as they are to anyone else, that we do not have to accept those and allow process servers into our classrooms or to pull classroom teachers out. So we would ask that you review that over the next month, and we will bring it back to you for the vote.
Okay. Any questions or discussion on those items?
No.
Ms. Kearns, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next item 53, Ms. Bergwall.
Yes, good evening. Tonight I bring for you to review and approve an encroachment agreement with the City of Broken Arrow. This encroachment agreement will allow us to put a marquee sign in the island of 3rd Street there by Childers and Spring Creek. So currently the Ray Harrell Nature Park sign sits in that island, and we would like to replace that sign with a marquee sign for both of our schools, and then it'll also have verbiage on there for the Ray Harrell Nature Park. So because it's in a public right-of-way, we have to have this agreement in place with the city to put that sign up and build that marquee.
All right. Any discussion?
So this is just to be able to have that conversation with the city.
No, this, the city and I have worked on this agreement together, so our attorneys have reviewed it, and they call it an encroachment agreement. They execute similar contracts with like somebody in the Rose District that wants to have sidewalk seating, that sidewalks the cities, so the restaurant has to agree that they're encroaching. So no, we actually have the sign in our project that was bid with our project to build this sign. We just need this agreement in place so we can build it where we want to there in the island.
Thank you.
Ms. Bergwell, there's no time element on those once those agreements are set, are they?
No, they're really continual until that sign was removed.
Okay.
And as it comes to maintenance or cost or things like that, I mean, it's just a matter of doing the agreement. I mean, the cost is the same regardless where we put it or keep it or maintain it. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And this agreement will allow us to maintain it, you know, encroach their property and maintain it. It also spells out in there that they can make improvements to it. Like if they, let's say they wanted to plant bushes by it, but with our approval.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Any more discussion? Entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Denton made the motion. Mr. Cockrell made a second. Ms. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. All right. Thank you. Next item 54. Van Jackson. Von Jackson. Sorry, let me get that right.
Van Jackson, no problem. Good evening, President Allen, Dr. Dunlop, and members of the board. I am before you this evening to request your approval of the bid submitted by the lowest responsible bidder, Summit Bus, providing 7 77-passenger route buses and 3 14-passenger Type A route buses, in addition to 3 14-passenger Type A activity buses. There was one bid that was submitted for both the 14-passenger buses. Unfortunately, we weren't able to consider those bids because it did not meet all of the criteria that was specified in the bid solicitation, excuse me. It was lower, but did not meet the criteria of that bid. We're asking for your approval in this request. All the bidding was conducted pursuant to the competitive bidding as required by the law. The total cost of the district is $941,427. It will be paid from the 2015.
Okay. Okay, 15 bond funds. What's the funding source?
I'm sorry, you cut out a little bit there.
Yeah, it's the audio's doing that. The funding source is the 2015 bond fund, correct?
That is correct, sir. The 2015 bond is the source for this.
Okay. Any discussion or questions?
I have a question, Ms. Van Jackson. So with the addition of these 7 passenger buses and looks like 3, the smaller activity buses, will this increase our capacity to transport students on our routes, or is this phasing older buses out?
It's a combination of both. That's a great question. We are purchasing larger vehicles because we are transporting more students as we are a growing district. So you will see that we're requesting the purchase of 77 passenger, which traditionally in the past, we've only requested 71 passenger vehicles. But at the same time, we want to keep a good rotation on our vehicle cycle, and the bonding capacity that we have right now allows us to do that with the funding source.
All right. Any other discussion or questions? Entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Denton called for the motion. Mr. Cockrell seconded. Ms. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Thank you. Next item 55, Ms. Enoff.
Yes, good evening, President Allen, Dr. Dunlop, members of the board. I bring to you tonight the approval or disapproval of the purchase of copy paper. The bid was opened on Monday, May 4th, and we are recommending approving the bid from Contract Paper Group for a total cost of $81,950.40. You all should have a copy of the bid tab in front of you, and I just kind of wanted to go over quickly why we're not going with the low bid in this instance. If you notice, there are two categories, if you will, of domestic and imported paper. And after consultation with our representatives on this, the imported paper, we do not unfortunately have a track record for of the quality of the paper and how it will work in our machines. And so we did not feel comfortable purchasing 4 truckloads or 3,360 cases of paper that we're not sure is going to be copacetic with our copiers. And you know, just in the spirit of everything that's going on in the global economy and the world right now, we felt the responsible thing to do would be to accept the lowest bid of domestic paper, which in this case is with Contract Paper Group. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So maybe in the future, I was just curious, do we know of any school systems that may have taken the other route of getting it offshore?
Ms. Metavelis has reached out to her purchasing group on that, and we're not aware of anyone going with imported paper at this point. Certainly we'll continue to kind of watch that, and you know, if they do start to kind of gain that track record and momentum here, we'll have a little bit more history to go off of. But you know, in the past we've had very high success with paper from this country.
Fair enough. Thank you.
About how much is the difference? I don't have it in front of me.
The difference ended up being about $2,800, and we are still lower than the price that we paid a year ago. So we're still under budget for that, but the difference was about $2,800.
Okay.
Seems like a safe measure.
Yeah.
I think it's the right thing to do. Just any time, not just given today's time, just any time. I mean, I think it's the right thing to do if it's makes sense. Any other discussion?
Nope.
Okay.
Entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Denton made the motion. Mr. Cockrell seconded. Ms. Roulette.
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell.
Yes.
Mr. Denton.
Yes.
Mr. Majors.
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Okay, next item will be to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Denton made the motion. Mr. Cockrell seconded. Ms. Roulette.
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell.
Yes.
Mr. Denton.
Yes.
Mr. Majors.
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Thank you all, and
Thank
hope
you
all
very
you all
much.
had a wonderful Mother's Day to all you mamas out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be safe.